I believe we are live. It starts off a little bit slow and then it shows up on the news feed. Just want to double check before. Okay, yep, we are live. There we go. Hello, 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 Facebook people. How are you all doing today? Welcome back, beautiful souls, to Get Your Shit Together podcast with Yana Kasperzak. And today you are tuning into another episode of our special series of Your Journey of Becoming, where women will be talking about how they went from dreaming to doing. This is where real women share their real stories, the messy, the magical middle part of becoming of who they were meant to be. Because the truth is that your dream life doesn't start when everything is actually perfect. It starts when everything is messy, it's chaotic, and it starts the moment you say, I'm done playing small, when you've had enough. And if you're ready to say that today, grab your coffee, light your candle, let's dive in. Today I'm joined by Tina, a woman who said enough is enough and turned her life from chaos to clarity. And you're going to absolutely love her story. So the topic for today is going to be talking about finding her sovereignty and standing in her power. So that's what Tina is going to be sharing with us today. So Tina, welcome. It is your turn to chime in and let us know, how did everything really start for you? When was that moment where it just cracked everything right open for you?
Thank you for having me, Yana. It was such a pleasure to meet you this week, and we've been chatting and getting to know each other. And yeah, life is messy and chaotic, and I couldn't agree more. But to answer your question, I'd say that there's always hints along the way, right? That our soul is giving us that, like, hey, your life is a mess, let's fix it. But the moment I listened, the moment that life or spirit or the universe, whatever you'd like to call it, kicked the door down for me, um, was during my last relationship, which is often how it is, right? A messy breakup kind of shines a spotlight on where you're at. And my messy breakup also came with flashbacks to childhood, which was new for me because I buried childhood, as a lot of people do, right? And my mantra was always, I'm better for it. Like, I know what happened. I don't need all the details. And I'm a happy-go-lucky person because I buried childhood. But that's not how it works at all. I mean, was I really a happy-go-lucky person? Yes, on the outside, absolutely. But on the inside, I was a hot mess because my pattern with men were emotionally unavailable and narcissistic. Once I started to heal and finally found a word for it, a word that I think we throw around a lot these days, but there are narcissists out there, and I certainly dated them. And when this last one became the monster that the narcissist is always going to become, something was nagging at me and nagging at me and nagging at me. And I was trying to put my finger on it because I've always been a self-analyzer. Um, I never jumped from relationship to relationship. I always spent 2 years analyzing what went wrong, which I don't know, good or bad, but I did learn some things. But with this one, the moment that really brought me to my knees is when I sat down and made a list. And I don't think I've ever done that for any partner before, but I was at the point where I loved this man so much, but I had grown enough to know that I wasn't going to tolerate any more of this kind of behavior. And I sat down in a hotel room one day because I'm a tour guide, and I made a list of all the positive traits and then the negative ones. And as I was making the list, I felt so guilty for saying what I wouldn't say to anyone else, like truly how I felt about some of the behavior. And when I was done, it was like someone had just kicked me in the gut because the list was my mother. And I just went, oh my God, you're bipolar like my mother. And that brought me to my knees, that I could be fooled by something I was so familiar with. Um,
Yeah.
the deception from him, who knows my story, the deception from myself for not seeing it's coming. And then when you really think about it, you did see it coming. You just made excuses for bad behavior, which I've done my whole life, make excuses for other
Mhm.
people's bad behavior, especially because I've always been the one who kept the peace, keep the peace, keep the peace, keep the peace, right? Because that's what we
Right.
do when we're broken.
Yeah.
And when we come from that kind of a life. So, but that moment, and I felt it was a three-way deception, him, myself, and I was mad at the universe. I was pissed. How could you keep treating me like this? I'm a good person. Why do you keep giving me this crap? I don't deserve it. It all came to a head at that moment. Yeah, brought me to my knees and then made me shout at God, so to speak, because that's what I did. I was angry and hurt and broken and frustrated, and well, remembering a childhood that I, preferred to forget, but it was time to heal it. So there it was, coming to the surface, screaming like the angry child that it was, right? I will not be ignored. So that's where I was at in that
Mhm.
moment.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot of it was coming from that part of all of us women and young girls wanting to be or needing to be or having to be a good girl,
Mm.
where you're literally be good, accommodating. You are putting everyone first, taking care of everyone's needs and desires and everything.
You're the nurturer, the giver. Who's giving to
Yeah.
you ever?
And then in the end,
Right?
the reason why you don't receive anything in return is because everyone assumes that you don't need it, that you got it. Otherwise, you would ask. But the thing is, good girls don't ask for help. Good
No,
girls don't speak up when they're struggling. They say, I got it. It's okay. I got it. But on top of that, also, it's like, do you have it? Do you need help? Can I help you? So let me help you carry your baggage while I'm struggling to carry mine up the Mount Everest.
absolutely. Well, we're programmed from the time we're really little, right? This is the patriarchy.
Yeah,
And women are
universal
just as bad in
patriarchy.
the patriarchy because we judge other women for not being good mothers. A lot of
Yeah.
the peer pressure to be the best mother, wife, whatever comes from other women because, of course, we've been pitted against each other in this system, right? And it's nice to see, and it'll take time, that we're starting to tear this system down and that women are finally starting to support other women and to also like put the message out there like you are. You don't have to carry all of it by yourself. In fact, you're not supposed to. You're certainly not doing yourself any favors. And if your cup is empty, what do you have to give anyways? If you want to give more, great, but fill your own cup first then. And when you start to do that, you'll realize then that you need that balance and that it has to be reciprocal as well, right? But that healing comes with boundaries, doesn't it?
Well, it has to, because we also
Mhm.
realize that when we didn't have boundaries in the first place, so now it's like, oh shit, all we had were really good skills of people pleasing
Coping.
and
Yeah.
coping and normalizing things and making excuses and rationalizing. This is in my coaching practice. This is referred to as level three energy, where you're rationalizing when you're manipulating a situation to make a win for yourself,
Yep.
make sense of things. But in the end, you somehow know that you're still losing and you're missing out, right? That there's something
Yeah.
else that could be done. So I would love to hear of that moment, because this wouldn't be called Get Your Shit Together if I didn't ask you of like, tell me that moment where you were in, because often it is from like rock bottom, from like that shitty place where
Oh,
you're
yeah.
like covered in mascara, if you wear mascara, you're just crying and you just, I can't, right? As you were saying before, it's like, why me? I'm a good person. Like, what the,
Yeah.
come on, let's go. That moment. So tell me a little bit more about that moment and then what came next. And when did you say, was that the moment that you said enough is enough and decided to really get your shit together for like for realsies?
I guess, yes, that was the moment to answer the question. Absolutely. And it was clear to me. So when it comes to spiritualism, I always had one foot in and one foot out. In the mid to late 90s, I met because I grew up in a very, very Christian home when I was younger. So I had that very cult-like mentality. I mean, church 3 times a week, taken out of public school to go to the church's school, like really, really, really not allowed to hang out with anyone who wasn't in church. Really, really a cult-like church, because I don't believe all churches are like cults. So I don't want anyone to misinterpret that message, but this one definitely was. If the message is fear, this is not God's message, right? So, but anyways, um, so I had one foot in and one foot out. I believed in the universe. I believed in karma. I don't think I understood it 100%, but I believed in it. This was also the universe's sort of like way of saying, dude, like one foot in and one foot out is not gonna either get in or get out,
No.
right? And I didn't know that at the
It's
time,
gonna push
but
you
it,
one way or the other.
yeah, get in or get out. We're tired of you going 1 foot
Breathe,
and
it's getting close. Come on, right?
right? Like this is it. You're asking for change. Here it comes. Be careful what you ask for, right? So I mean, the issue with this breakup is I couldn't just do a clean break because I was tour guiding at the time and my trips were like 3, 4 weeks out. So where was I supposed to even look for somewhere to live, right? Because I was living with this person, and so I even said to him at the breakup, like, I literally don't have time to look for a home for at least 2 months till my season ends. And of course, the initial breakup is like, oh, listen, let's be civil, not a problem. I sprung this on you, kind of a thing, the whole breakup thing. But of course, by that evening, it didn't even last 24 hours. Once he got drunk and his demons came out to play, and I mean, quite literally, because I went down into the basement to say, hey, I made some dinner. Would you like some? And he attacked. And I mean, attacked. For the first time, I thought he might actually hit me, which he never hit me. That was my line in the sand, was definitely physical abuse. Um, because I grew up with physical abuse. My parents were incredibly physically abusive. But when I saw when it was in the eyes, and when he said something to me and put his finger in my face, and I instantly had fear because I knew I wasn't looking at him anymore. The eyes, and that moment brought me back to childhood. When my father was beating me so severely once with a hammer, I think it was at that time. And I looked to my mother for help, and she just smiled at me and was like, see what I can do? Because she always made these horrible things happen because that was her control and manipulation. But I saw the same demon in the eyes. And that moment was so pivotal for me because I tried to tell myself my whole life that demons weren't real, especially with this horrible Christian upbringing. I still, as an adult, had fear about demons, even though I said they weren't real. And yet I was scared of what lived under the bed as an adult. And I always kind of hated myself for that ridiculous fear. But that was the moment that it looked me in the face. And for the next 2, 3 months, I was trapped in that house. Now I was gone weeks at a time touring, but every time I came back, oh my God, even when I was sleeping, it felt like I was being choked. He was sleeping in a different room. He wasn't touching me. I don't ever want anyone to think he touched me. He never touched me, right? He wasn't a violent man in that way to me anyways. But it's like his grossness was trying to choke me. So 2 months of actual hell, I didn't cry. I didn't cry at the breakup of this relationship. I couldn't. I actually shut down completely because I knew once I let the waterworks started that wouldn't stop because I know myself. So I just did my other thing that my inner child does, and that is shut down, protect, put the outer shell. And I just, which made him crazy because, of course, every time I was home, he would try to torture me, and I just didn't bite. I also know the manipulation. Once I understood what I was dealing with, I know how the manipulation goes. So I wouldn't bite, I wouldn't give that. So at any rate, when I finally left the house and found my own apartment, I was able to then, first of all, cry and mourn because even though I didn't want him back, it still hurt. I loved this man. I thought he was the one. I really actually would have married that one. And I never wanted marriage in my life. So that's a big statement for me. So I sought spiritual help. I knew that I needed help. I knew I had a pattern because he was my third major partner. You don't know you have a pattern when it's one. And then the second one was so different. And then the third one was so different until I went, oh, I see the through line now. You're all emotionally unavailable. You're all narcissists in a different way, but all narcissists for sure. And in the true meaning of the word. And that's when I finally went, it was the pivotal question where I stopped saying, what the hell is wrong with all the men out there? And I finally went, what is wrong with me that all I attract is this kind of man? That is when my soul went, finally, she's ready and she's asking the right question. So I sought spiritual help and it was like wildfire from there. There was no stopping my spiritual awakening after that and a path to healing. And I don't regret it because now I'm here and oh my God, I don't have this pattern anymore. I have inner peace and I have joy and I love myself. And I definitely could never say that before. I love who I am. I make no apologies for that. And my boundaries, as we talked about, sister, are so rocks. They were tested several times in the last couple weeks. They are rock solid. I'm actually really proud of that too. It's easy to say you have boundaries when they get tested. That's when you know if they're really there, right?
Exactly. That's how it works. It's like easy to say have inner peace unless it gets tested. And then what do you do with that inner peace? Right? Where did it go? Because we forget. It's not that we don't know, because we know. It's that we forget.
Mm.
And my favorite quote was, how many times do we need to forget until we finally remember? And it's because we do forget so many things over and over and over again. It's like we would forget our name if we could, right? Until it was repeated to us, and then we finally remembered. Is that we forget that that inner peace is our responsibility, and
Hmm.
if our peace is challenged and we feel that inside, which means we feel anything else other than peace, simply put, that means go and do something about it. Lean
That's
into
right.
that particular challenge. But that is not the conditioning of the upbringing or the conditioning that we received. Interestingly enough, whether you're in this part of the world or that part of the world, the conditioning we receive is all the same, right?
That depends. I think that the place that
Within
you live
reason.
has definitely has impact, right? If you come from a war-torn country, oof, this is going to create who you are. If you come from a
Yeah,
country that's never known war, like there are big issues out there, I think. If you come from a Muslim country as a woman, your life is going to be different than it was here raised in the West.
yeah.
But
But at the
family units are
core,
family units, right? That like
yeah,
you're
but at the core, you
saying.
want to be a good girl, right? That's where
Yes,
a good girl
absolutely.
conditioning, a programming, a good boy conditioning programming at the core, it's going to be the same, but how it's expressed is going to be different. That's why you had three
Hmm.
relationships express themselves differently, but at the core, the same conditioning, the same block, right? The same constipation,
Absolutely.
right? You got to get that shit out.
Absolutely, because well, until you're always going to attract the frequency that's in your body, the energy that you're exuding, right? So when my teacher first said that to me, right? You don't get what you want in life, you get what you are. God,
Right?
that's an offensive statement, right? Because you go,
Right.
because anything that's confronting is offensive, right? You go, what? I'm not an asshole. Sorry, this is live. I probably shouldn't swear.
I know.
My exes, like in the end, were okay. I'm gonna let's be nice here. They were not good people. They were so manipulative and cruel, and you go, gosh, I'm not like that. But it's like, no, 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 no. Broken people attract broken people. Broken people raise broken people. That's it. You cannot escape this law. So a narcissist, even though they're being controlling and manipulative and intentionally want to hurt you, it's because they're broken. It's
Yeah,
because they also feel so bad inside that their only pleasure comes from hurting other people. Well, if I feel bad inside because people are always hurting me, well, feeling bad is feeling bad. Broken is broken. Like the universe doesn't measure where it came from, or, it's just if that's the frequency, that's what you're going to attract. You're also going to keep attracting the relationships that you need to mend. That's it. You can't escape this law either, right? So when you, like what you said, when we get triggered, we never stop healing, not ever, our whole lives. So it's not this end goal of I'm healed. No, it's that I'm always learning and healing. That takes a little pressure off, first of all. It's also our responsibility to heal, to make the world a better place and to make our children better. So we break this generational trauma. But how does that happen? Triggers. You never stop getting triggered, but you can either take that trigger before when you were triggered, it's like your inner child took over and you either pitched a fit or went silent or just all hell breaks loose, right? But as an adult self, you go, oh, I'm triggered. That's interesting. I mean, I even mentally know I'm being triggered, which is so empowering to go, oh, wow, that person just triggered me. Okay, what am I feeling? Who does that remind me of? What situation am I actually healing here? And you can walk yourself through it, and in 10 minutes, you're done, depending on what it is that was being triggered. But, the more you've been doing it, the quicker these healings come. We don't have to spend a year working on that anymore, like we did at the beginning, maybe when you're attacking some big issues, right? Confronting some big issues. The same way people are always going to test your boundaries so that you know where they need to be fortified. So
exactly.
testing boundaries and triggers, these are spirit's way of growing you. And if we know that, then we can use those as tools as opposed to things that are like, my life is not perfect. What? I thought I'd have inner peace and that would be the end. No, that's not how it works. But I can have inner peace while working through my triggers.
But we take it personally instead of seeing that
Yeah,
trigger. Like the triggers take it personally, and that is why some darker part of us comes through to defend and protect and stand in our honor. But if we took it um, as an opportunity to grow and evolve as it is, right? Because something comes up, something is stirred up. Okay, well, what is that something? It's
exactly.
no different than having a stranger walk through a house and you keep like walking around and not even bothering to look for the stranger, know who the stranger is. It's similar to what is happening inside, right? So when you begin to recognize that stranger, you gotta welcome. Hi, how are you? Who are you? What are you doing? What are you want? Right? Because you want to go back to that inner peace. That's what we
Yeah.
want. That is where we want to exist 100%. And we, as you said, and I will say that as well, we cannot exist there 100% because that's not part of being human. Part of being human is existing through all of our feelings and emotions and not just inner peace. But it just means that when you have the right tools to go back to that place and space that you refer to as inner peace, because what inner peace to one person might not necessarily look or exactly feel the same to another person. But knowing that, you can always go there.
Hmm.
So,
Embrace your shadow self, right? Our soul will never harm us, give us more than we can handle, even though it feels like sometimes it is. And it's directing our healing. So surrendering to the process was a big one for me, to not be a control freak, because the more broken you are, generally the more of a control freak you are, because when you have no control in your life, you're trying to gain control. So someone like myself that was always like, my house is perfect, it's impeccable, I need to be perfect, that was my broken actually. So am I still a neat freak? Yeah, I just like it to be tidy, but it's no longer a compulsion or I feel like a failure if I didn't clean my apartment this week or something like that, right? So through all of the things that I'm learning and the triggers and the lessons I'm learning, I just keep remembering that's the only reason I'm here is to learn lessons. So does life ever get to a part where it's just smooth sailing? No.
Temporarily, yes,
Well,
but
of
not
course,
fully.
but you know what I'm saying? Like your whole life until the day you die, you're going to learn lessons. So does it mean that they're enormous triggers? No. As you start to work on stuff, it gets so much easier. But even through when something triggers me, I know that I can go, all right, I'm going to meditate on this because I'm not feeling good inside, but also I'm not going to ignore it, right? I'm not going to shelve it ever again or push it down or tamper it. I want to know why. I'm going to analyze it.
Hmm.
And the answers come easier because, again, spirit wants you to learn the lessons. So it's not making it so difficult that it's like, oh, she'll never figure this out. It's not a mystery novel, right? It's like, yeah.
Yeah, and at the same time, it's like it also comes down to there's all of us carry a dream of a life that we want, right? A
Mm,
dream life that we want, or a dream of a life that we want. So, based on those dreams that we carry, the universe is very compliant. It's
mm,
very obedient, it's very compliant. It's like, you think of the best, well trained, well mannered dog, that's what the universe is. But in order for that to happen, that means you, as the owner of this dog, needs to be good, need to know how to communicate with this dog. Because um, not every dog who is well trained and behaved that is brought into a chaotic home will stay that way for long. It will also be like,
mm.
okay, I don't know what to do. I don't know if it's puppy. I don't know what to do for you, right? So the universe always provides and will give us what we want when we are ready. And the doors are always going to be essentially open, but sometimes we do have to open those doors and walk through them ourselves.
Well, and sometimes we need to remember that the way the lesson's going to be taught or the way that something will be manifest for you. I mean, it's that old adage. I even learned it, when I was in Christian school, etc. Be careful what you wish for. If you ask for patience, you're not going to just have patience drop on you. You're going to have situations that require you to have patience drop on you.
Yeah,
That's how manifesting works, right? So,
yeah,
be careful what you ask for because, or what you're saying. It's not be careful, because everything we say is being provided.
yes.
Everything. It's not just when I think right now I'm manifesting. No, every time I open my mouth, I am manifesting and my thoughts are manifesting, right? That's why they call it spelling. Words are spells. Every word, not just the moments when you think you're manifesting. Remember, you are always manifesting. So if you're saying, I want this, but then you're doing a contradictory thing, that's where, as your analogy goes, spirit's like, well, now I'm confused. Which one do you want? Which one are
Exactly.
you putting more energy to? You only manifested something positive for 10 minutes, but for the last 3 weeks, you've been saying this negative thing. Well, guess which one's showing up? You
Yeah.
gave more power to the negative part of it. And that's the problem. We always need to be thinking about what we say. Our words are so important. And this is a hard lesson to learn because I was a lippy person my whole life too, flippant and very, because sarcasm is also a great way to hide your pain, isn't it? Right? Really, really funny people are often hiding behind that mask because inside they're hurting. But everything you say, even when you're saying something negative about another person, that's coming back to you tenfold. It's
Yeah.
not only affecting the other person, it's affecting you too because it's clearly what you think about yourself. That's how your soul interprets it.
Hmm.
So everything we say matters.
Yeah.
And that's something we have to learn, right? To learn to change the way we talk, the way we think. And, you know, we're not perfect. Sometimes something pops out of my mouth and I go, oh, that wasn't very nice. But now I've learned as well to kind of go delete, delete, delete. And now I'm going to put a compliment there, right?
Mm.
We can
Yeah.
do that. We can delete what we just said.
Yeah.
And
Or to
that's
just
powerful too.
pull back and not say something because
Filter.
I know, right? Like, not everything that we think about needs to be said. And then at the same time, for some women, maybe you got to speak up a bit more, because quite a few good girls I know, especially in my Unleash to Your Core community, there's some women that don't speak up. They want to, but they don't even know how,
Yeah.
and because it's learned. We're not born knowing how to speak. So how would we be possibly be born knowing how to speak up for ourselves? I mean, mind you, we were born to speak up for ourselves. Otherwise, we would never been fed. Our diaper would never been changed. And we also were not born being scared of public speaking. These are all learned things, because if we were
Yeah.
scared of public speaking, a baby doesn't care. If you're in the middle of the forest, it needs its diaper change or it needs food. It's gonna scream. It's gonna cry. It's
Hmm.
gonna publicly speak and tell you, right? Kids don't care to throw temper tantrums in the stores, and until we teach them
Yeah. Don't do that. We're in public,
shame,
especially in
guilt,
public. Yes.
embarrassment, right? All of these,
Hmm.
we teach all of these other things. Otherwise, we're all good, right? We're all like, we love ourselves, we know ourselves, and then we go through that part of waking up to the program that we were being programmed while we were loving ourselves, right? In the first
Hmm.
7 years
Taught
of our,
not to love ourselves, taught that
how
that's
not to.
wrong. Yeah.
But then now, and this is, I see it as a great part, because if you were born only loving yourself and not knowing how not to love yourself, and not knowing what it's like not to love yourself, then you wouldn't experience the yin and the yang. So it's important to experience the both, to now, heal from the first part of your life, type of a thing, right? While figuring out what is it, or how do you want to love yourself, or what is it really truly purely like to love yourself. And I know, as we wrapping up now, I would love for you to actually talk a little bit about that love and obsession about yourself that you can have, and perhaps also share, if that one woman who is listening right now, maybe she's, still sitting there, still dreaming, still doubting, and maybe scared to start, what would you want her to know as well?
I think, well, as we've already said, when it comes to women, we're so programmed to put ourselves last that it takes a minute to deprogram that. But if your goal in life is to be so good to your family, then again, let's bring you right back to you can't feed someone from an empty cup. So put yourself first. And if this is even the mind manipulation you have to do to yourself to put yourself on this path and not feel selfish, then start there. We can't get from A to Z without going through the entire alphabet. So when I created my workbook on how to walk through your childhood trauma and heal it, because I had to figure it out on my own, um, one of the things that I kind of put into the book was build a bridge. Don't make the end goal so overwhelming that you won't start, because it does feel overwhelming. All you have to do is take the first step. And in fact, as soon as you're willing to heal, your soul's going to take over and you're not going to have a choice, because it's going to guide you. And now it's going to make your life a living hell if you don't start following what it wants you to do, because it has your best interests in mind. The minute I said, oh my God, what is wrong with me? Instead of what is wrong with everybody else out there, my soul went, oh, finally. And it led me to the right healer who gave me the right words that I needed to heal. And she didn't sugarcoat it. I mean, she wasn't hard on me either, but she also didn't sugarcoat it.
Mm-hmm.
Learning generational trauma was a big one for me for forgiveness, but also understanding that I was actually choosing how my life was going. It made me upset, but then it empowered me because it meant from this point forward now, I can't blame anyone else for what's going on in my life. I have the power to change. So my message to you is if you're always putting yourself last, if you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop, if you are making excuses for other people's bad behavior, you don't love yourself. And I'm sorry if that's a hard message, but you are not putting yourself first. And the first deprogramming for women, especially, is putting yourself first is not selfish. It's actually self love. So, how do we get to self love? Redefine what self love is, not the BS that we've been taught,
Yeah, the
but
brainwash.
what self love, yeah, what self love actually is putting myself first. Not becoming a narcissist and only thinking about myself. That is the other end of the spectrum. But putting yourself first gives you the power and the strength to be able to give so much more to others in the first place. So it's not selfish, it's self love. So if that is what you need to write on your mirror, self love is not selfish. Read that to yourself. So I would take lipstick and I would write it because I stopped wearing lipstick years ago and I have all these old lipsticks. So I thought I'll use them for something. And to reprogram how I thought about myself, I had sticky notes all over my house. Every time I'd look in the mirror and say something negative, I had a really strong "you're fat" programming from my mother. Every day of my life, she told me I was fat. Every time I looked in the mirror and thought, oh, you look fat, I'd go delete, delete, delete. You look amazing in that outfit. Did I believe it at first? Absolutely not. But I would say it. And eventually I started to believe it. I started to reframe how I looked. My shape looks great in this outfit. Like, you might have to lie to yourself, so to speak, when you first start reprogramming.
Yeah,
But the more you say something, well, you're removing the old program and you're putting in a new one. Think of it as a computer chip. Take that old program out, put a new one in. You can't take one out and then all of a sudden you're at a loss and you're like, oh my God, who am I? And we go through that panic of, who am I? We do go through that because suddenly we don't know who we are without all the programs. But that is the place where we get to then build who we are, how we want to be. And self love is not selfish. Put it on your mirror, say it to yourself. You do anything for 30 days and it becomes a program. So do it every day for 30 days. Reprogram yourself to love yourself because you are worth it. You are worth it. And if you don't believe that, how will you ever attract anyone who thinks you're worth it? If you don't believe you're worth it, you will never attract someone who thinks you're worth it. That's also the law of attraction. So you want to change how your life is going? Start with you, because that is the only place to start.
yeah,
But
that's
that
like,
means you have the power.
yeah, we do have the power. We don't like our life in any part of our life. Only we are the ones who have the power to change. And eventually, at the same time, the universe will force you to change because it knows it's like it's you're standing in that door. It's like you want it, you don't. One week you want it, next week you don't. It's like you're going back and forth before the universe can actually give it to you and provide. And then they're just gonna shove you one way or the other. And they usually will shove you in a way where you're gonna be forced to really get to know yourself, to love yourself, like as you were talking about the lipstick in the mirror. I'm like, I remember my kids, especially my daughter, making out with that mirror. Like, what the hell is happening to us now? Like, why are we not making out with ourselves in the mirror? Of course, that would be called vanity now. And in depending on the intention behind it, yeah. But at the same time, if you're in a place where you're like, maybe you haven't looked yourself in the eyes in decades, start there, right? Like,
Yes.
give yourself a kiss on the cheek in the mirror, like,
Give yourself a hug, right? There's something that's very triggering for the brain when we hug ourselves. And if you're hugging yourself and it makes you incredibly uncomfortable, oh, you need to do that every single day for 30 days too.
yeah,
Show yourself some love.
yeah.
Reprogram how you think about yourself. And that will change how others think about you. And if it doesn't, those people will be stripped away because you'll realize that you have boundaries with who's going to be around you. the kind of people that are around you.
Yeah. And as you said, we do attract ourselves. And in
Mhm.
many cases, it is the previous version of ourselves because who I am right this second is not who I was when we even started this podcast, right? Or even 5 minutes ago, or even a minute ago. I'm a little bit different. Maybe not that noticeably different, but still, right? My cells are constantly growing and changing and evolving nonstop. We don't
Mhm.
see all the work on on the inside. We don't see it on the outside. Similarly to when people are going through the healing and growth, that you don't see the work on the inside, but you feel it and you recognize
Mhm.
energy does not,
Lie.
it doesn't.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Tina, for coming on and sharing this, all of this with us. So much magic, so much amazing things in there as well. Check out her books as well. I'll put them in the description and it will be also in the podcast description. So thank you so much for sharing your story, your life today. I know so many women felt seen in your words today. And if you love this episode, share it with a friend who is ready to get their shit together. And come and hang out on the, inside on the podcast of Get Your Shit Together, where conversations like this uh, will turn into lifelong sisterhood. So thank you very much. And I wouldn't be surprised if we do this another time again. This was really fun. I absolutely love your energy as well. So thank you, Tina, for being on here. Thank you, everybody, for listening, for tuning in. And until we talk next time, have an amazing rest of your day. And until next time, bye, everybody. Thanks, Tina.